Hi everyone, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and I'm so excited to be live with you today. We are still working on our vision boards. I hopefully you've gotten some progress on them. I know I have. I have had lots of fun coloring over the last few days, and it has been really kind of cool. Um, Hopefully we'll have some people joining us on. I know there are some people that can't join us, and they will be uh, looking at it later on. Um, and I am forgetting how to. It has been a long day already, guys, and I am thankful to be with you. And I am having a hard time writing today. It is just kind of one of those days. I'm posting on Facebook. Please share any obstacles that you've come up with or found or I will tell you that most people have many obstacles, and they don't always know that they have them. I think that's kind of the funny, crazy part is that sometimes we just don't even realize that we have obstacles until we start doing something like this and we really start thinking about them. I know for me, for a long time, I had obstacles about money and having money. And I always felt when I was a kid that there wasn't enough money and that I had to go and work really, really hard for money instead of just drawing it to me. And so it was one of those, it's kind of like very interesting in that perspective of having that perspective of money. And like everybody wants money, everybody desires money, everybody wants to have money. And most people want to have money, 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 lots of money. Yet at the same time, it's one of those, we're also sometimes afraid of it because of if you have someone in your life. I had a client not too long ago that had a very, very wealthy uncle, and he was very mean and was not a pleasant person to be around. And he would, kind of taunt the family, if you do this, then I'll give you this money. If you do that, I'll give you this money. And it was always this kind of crazy kind of energy with him of, if you do these things, this is what I'll give you. And her family grew up, she always just, whatever the wealthy uncle says to do, that's what you need to do to make money. And so it was one of those, she always felt controlled by money. I myself, my mom always would lie about money. And I know it sounds really strange, but you would, hey, mom, do you have, 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever it is, or a dollar to go to the store and get a Coke? And because as a kid everybody wants to leave the house and go do something and that sort of thing. And she would always say, well, I don't have any money. But if you looked in her purse, she had money. So it's one of those, it's like either you do money, you have money, or you don't have money, but this doesn't make any sense. And what I think she was really trying to say, or what she should have said, is I have money for rent, or I have money for the groceries, or I have money for this. But what she was really saying is, I don't have money at all, which was really a lie. And so she ended up lying about her money. So I always had these strange ideas about money. And so it took me a long time to get over that conflict with money. And still to this day, sometimes, like, don't always want to talk about like money or money issues. Um, and so we bring in a lot of obstacles or a lot of barriers that we don't even really understand from our families of origin. And so the number one thing to do to start to remove your barriers, are to identify what your personal barriers are. If there's barriers about money or career or being successful or getting what you want, whatever it is, make sure that you're understanding where that origin came from. And a lot of times thinking back, like, for me, it took me a long time to realize where the barrier for money came in. So I would start to think like, well, maybe it's because I'm afraid my husband's going to get mad. I spent, he told me I could spend $50 at Target and I spent $60. And then I realized I wasn't really afraid of him. It was just like this money, I felt like I needed to lie about it. So I was like, this is really strange. And so I kept having to go back and back and back and back until I realized, like, wow, my mom always lied about her money, and she lied to money. And so it's one of those, that was a barrier that I needed to required removing, and that was from your parents. There can also be barriers from your success with things that come up from your past lives. And so it doesn't really make sense in this life, but all of a sudden, or all of your life, you've been afraid of successful people, or you've been very jealous of successful people, or you don't want anything to do with that. You'd rather be a lazy bum and not succeed or do anything else. And that can come in from a past life if it doesn't make sense in this one. You can also pick up barriers from other people, and this can be friends or family. So if you were friends with my friend and her uncle kind of controlled her family with money, then you might pick up on some of that. And so then that's where that barrier came in at. So just understand that you can pick up barriers from other people. A lot of people end up, I had a client about 6 or 7 months ago that was really interesting, and he loved money, but he also just couldn't stand to be around it. And I just thought it was really interesting. And so we started going back in time and kind of like, where did you pick this up from? Where did you pick up this barrier? Where are we going to clear this out from? And it was from when he was a kid. He found a quarter. He was probably 2.5 or 3 years old. He picked up a quarter on the floor, and it was so shiny. And of course, a kid, like, up straight into his mouth. And he didn't realize he was choking on it, but it was kind of like, it wasn't like down in his throat, but it was in his mouth, and it made him cough. And so his mom ran over and panicked him, and started shoving her hand down his throat and trying to pull it out. And it made this big impression on him. And so he became like, I'm terrified of money. I'm afraid someone's going to shove their hand down my throat to get it out of me. And so that's one of your barriers that you can come up with. You and your thinking. So if you have barriers to things in your life, and this can not only be about money, but on your vision board, you could also be talking about relationships. So if your previous person you were dating, your partners, came in with like they cheated on you, or they had that kind of issues going on, or they were not truthful, then you can have barriers against getting in a new relationship with someone who has cheated, or they may cheat on me, even if they've not shown those signs. Are they showing signs that they may cheat on me, or are they lying? If your previous partner lied, then that's something that can easily come into this partnership and can really just taint that relationship. The other one is you can bring in barriers from your partners. Saying if your spouse had problems with money when he was a child, he can bring that into you. If your girlfriend or a friend had problems with other things in their lives, when they tell you about it, it can cause the fear because you really love this person. And so they can almost contaminate you with their energy of what's coming in at you. So then you're kind of like, I'm not sure where to go with this. So one of the things is to kind of get rid of a lot of this stuff that's going on. As kind of decide what you're choosing to do with the barriers. Are you know what I'm saying? Some of the barriers can be very healthy. Some of them, not putting your hand on a hot stove could be a great barrier. But there can be some barriers about that aren't healthy. Being afraid of money, being afraid of success, being always terrified that someone's going to cheat on you, or someone's not telling you the truth. All of those barriers can bring up stuff and keep us from our best life, which is what we want to do when we're making a vision board. We want to make our best life. We want to picture that so we can almost draw ourselves into the picture of it and allow that life to come in at us. So it's one of those, it's really important for us to understand what are we trying to do with those barriers? Are they a barrier that we're going to choose, or is a barrier that we're going to change? If it's a barrier you're going to just live with, then allow that to happen, and that's okay. If it's a barrier that that you need to upgrade, then we need to start working on working your words, which we did last week, talking about upgrading your words. And it can also be upgrading your thoughts. When you have that thought like, oh my gosh, my last partner cheated on me. What about this partner? And if you bring that energy into the relationship, it can cause more problems. If you come into a relationship with issues like that, it will just already kind of allow it to grow in your current relationship. You're always expecting that person to cheat on you or to not deal with you correctly. So it's one of those upgrading your own thoughts and words. And we've already talked about that. I also left a link on the side that you can look at, and it's going to my website, which is ruththeresa.com. And then under psychic directory, you can go into inspiring quotes. And so I have a whole bunch of inspiring quotes at the bottom, and I've been putting the vision board stuff at the top. I will flip that around once we finish this segment, probably next week or the following week, we'll flip those around. So one of the things that we can start doing is start upgrading our words. Upgrading our words come to us in many different ways, and we've talked about that not only last week but this week, upgrading our words and choosing and changing. So one of the things that we've talked about is upgrading some of our words to put it in the now. So literally, now I'm choosing to move past my parents' barrier and move into my own success. And I put that a lot because my parents were successful people in their own rights, but it's one of those, they probably wouldn't think that I'm a success. So I'm not judging myself on theirs. I'm judging myself on mine, which is a barrier that I came in with, able to flip that around and turn it around and make that so much easier. So know that you can change that wording. So and I'll have these listed on the website this afternoon. I'm also working on my newsletter, so lots of things going on over here. I'm trying to get everything done. So I now choose to move past my parents' barriers to move into my own success. And you can also put my grandparents, my great grandparents, my aunt and uncle who raised me, whoever it is, friends, whatever, changing those words and upgrading those. I release my friends. Releasing my friends' beliefs in wealth. It's one of those, that's a really powerful one. Sometimes our friends can really talk bad. Like I said earlier, is my client had a problem with her uncle. And so it's one of those, she came in with a lot of beliefs that wealthy people were very mean and they were very demanding, and they got their way because they bought and paid for it. And maybe in some ways that's true, but it's one of those, it was a total barrier for her. And so she was unable to become successful in anything she tried because of this barrier that she had placed in herself as a child. I choose to see obstacles as opportunities. This is one that I think a lot of people, when they start having a lot of obstacles come up, they start going, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm saying, like, I already told you it's not going to work. And so now here's the belief. Here's the obstacle again. Here's another something that's coming in, another something that's trying to block me from where I want to go in my life. And that's not necessarily true. Obstacles are just opportunities for you to change. This isn't going to work, but let me tell you this now before we get down to the intersection. Let me tell you about this now before we get to, we don't have any other choices but to deal with it. We can make lots of changes and lots of modifications that way. Let's see. If y'all have any, please post them. I'd be more than happy to go over them with you guys. If you have any barriers that you want me to kind of help you write your affirmation statement on, I will definitely do that. One of my favorite ones is I am flexible in my thinking. Sometimes we can often think that, like, oh, that there's no way out, And that stopped us right there. We've already told ourselves there's no way to get through this. There's no way to get around this. There's no way to get through this, whatever it is. And so now we can think I am flexible in my thinking. And that just kind of opens up that opportunity of what do you want to change and how do you want to change it? And just knowing that your thinking can start to change those ideas and to make everything different. Let me see. I choose to always move forward into my personal vision of success and happiness. Other people's success and happiness may look completely different than yours, and that's completely okay. It's just not okay to hold yourself to their standards. I have friends that have husbands that I'd be like, not for me. That's okay. That's their version of success and happiness with their spouse. That's great. That's awesome. It's just not mine. It's one of those. So what are those barriers that are stopping us? Let's go into, I am a success every time I decide to keep going. This is one that I keep kind of big on my dresser, have its own poster board. I love keep going. It's one of those when things get tough, not that I won't sit on the side roads for a little bit, but a lot of times I try not to stay there for too long. Having a little pity party for a few minutes is okay. And then get up, dust yourself off, and get ready for what's coming up next. And that's keep moving forward. That's that energy. Let's see. I am realizing that I am closer to my success when obstacles get in my way. But we learned about but last week. But I use obstacles to enhance my journey. Take it as something that is happening and fit it into what's going on. Add it to it. It may not be part of the recipe that you were thinking it was, but sometimes that can turn into amazing dishes and an amazing life. So what are the obstacles that are keeping you from what you're doing or how you're doing life? It's one of those, turn that into a success. And only you can judge your own success. Success is your own judgment of what you've done in your life, not anybody else's. Not, your parents, your partners, your children, your grandchildren, or anybody else. It is your version of success. And what is that version of success to you? And once you understand that, it kind of makes everything else a little bit easier of not judging yourself by everybody else's rules and standards. I am going to sign off for today. If you have any questions or if you're watching this later on, post a quote or post a question, and I will look at it later on and get back to you. Please do not message me individually over this. I had that last week a lot, and it's one of those, it just took so much time and effort that I was unable to do a lot of that. So if you have any obstacles or barriers that you want to talk about, or how to set up an affirmation to clear that out, I will definitely be looking forward to hearing from you. I hope you have an amazing day.